Hi guys, it is Aoife from Fridays You Died Laughing and I am here to do a monthly recommendations video. Monthly Recommendations is a Goodreads group that was created by Trina at Between Chapters and Kayla over Kayla Rain, and it's just every month we have a topic and we discuss different books about that topic, and March's is standalone novels. So I have a few standalone novels here that I want to talk about that I think people will enjoy. And the first one I'm going to talk about is The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. This is a book that I actually only read a couple of weeks ago and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It is about a girl called Nella. She's 18 years old and she's just after getting married to an older man called Johannes, and she goes to live with him in Amsterdam, and it's basically that her married life isn't what she expected it to be, her wifely duties aren't what she expected them to be, and she ends up having to live both with her husband and with her husband's sister and their servants, and her husband isn't around that much because he's a merchant and he seems to be leading kind of a secret life. And she gets a present from her husband of this little miniature house that is kind of an exact replica of the house she lives in, and she gets in touch with a miniaturist in the area and asks her to send her some things, and the miniaturist starts sending her all these little things that have such detail to them that it's almost eerie, that she shouldn't really be able to know. And Nella starts looking at this miniaturist as, does she know the future? Is she magical? And all these things just start to happen. And I think it's really to the reader has to decide whether these things are just kind of someone being observant or intuitive, or whether it is actual magic. It's a little bit of magic realism, but it's up to the reader to decide what kind of magic that is, whether it's the magic of just the ordinary lives of people or just real magic. And it's kind of a book that kind of grows on you. At first when I started reading it I wasn't really into it, but then after a few chapters, about a quarter of the way through, I started really getting invested into the story about Nella and all the people in her life, and I just really enjoyed it. Such a beautiful read. Just the language in it, the way the words are put together, it's very flowing, it's very descriptive, it's just a really beautiful book of writing. And I really enjoyed it. The next book I have here is something that's a little bit controversial. Some people hate it and some people love it, and it's All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. I really like this book. A lot of people don't really like it. It deals with depression and suicidal intentions, and it could be a triggering book for some, I guess, and some people don't like the way depression is portrayed, and as well bipolar disorder is portrayed. But it's about a girl called what's her name? Violet. I forgot her name. A girl called Violet and a boy called Finch, and they meet up at the bell tower of their school, and they're both contemplating taking their own life, and they kind of end up in each other's life. And while Finch is making Violet's life better and he's showing her all the things she still has to live for, Finch's life is kind of starting to get smaller, and he's really suffering from depression. He's really starting to think really dark thoughts, and it's kind of just, I really enjoyed it. It definitely had me, you know, all ups and downs in terms of emotions, and I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a very heart-wrenching read, and I enjoyed it. I think it's just one of those things that's personal to each reader, whether they're going to like it or not, but I'd definitely say to people to give it a go, because I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really beautiful read in the end. Another book I have here is Only Ever Yours by Louise O'Neill. A lot of people might know this book has been compared to The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. It's kind of like a new generation's Handmaid's Tale basically, and it's about a girl called Frida. I keep forgetting everyone's names. It's about a girl called Frida who lives in the school, and whatever way the world is now is that so many girl babies were aborted that the human body evolved so that only male babies could be born naturally. So girl babies are now made out of kind of test tubes. They're kind of test tube babies, and the girls, there's not as many women in the world as there are men, and the girls have to grow up in the school, and they either have the choice of becoming kind of wives of these people, or they're going to be kind of nuns, or they can be concubines basically. They can be prostitutes, and they don't really have much of a choice of what they want to be. And there's a huge emphasis on beauty and, you know, how skinny you are, and basically everything the girls have to do is think about how they look and what they eat, and basically their beauty standards and how they might look to a boy. And it's really interesting. I found it a really interesting read. Some of the things that were done in it were really clever. Like, all the girls' names are all they don't have capital letters, they're all lowercase, and I thought that was a really interesting way of writing the book, where it's just that little bit more power taken away from the girls, that, you know, they don't even deserve a capital letter in their name. They're just lowercase people. They're lowercase names, lowercase people. They don't matter in terms of society. They're just kind of a pretty thing to hang on the arm of a man. And I just thought it was really, really interesting. I know that this book isn't for a lot of people. The way the writing style in it is a little bit different to the way the stories goes, but I did enjoy it in the end. I really, really liked it, and yeah, I think it's a good one to read. Team Human by Justine, Larbalestier and Rees Brennan is one that isn't a very serious book. It's more of a satirical version of Twilight, and it's just hysterical. I really, really enjoyed it. It's about a girl called Mel who lives in this world, or this city, where people know that vampires exist. Vampires coexist with humans, but there's like all these rules and regulations around humans becoming vampires, and you know, they have to go through a series of tests and a series of psychological examinations before someone can turn into a vampire, so it doesn't happen very often. And basically Mel hates vampires. She just thinks they're overrated. She wants nothing to do with them. But then a vampire ends up going to her school, and her best friend becomes Bella basically, and falls in love with this vampire and is completely obsessed with him, and Mel gets really, really angry. So it's kind of Twilight from the best friend's point of view. And then Mel ends up becoming friends with this boy who actually grew up with vampires. He was like abandoned as a baby at this vampire's house, so he grew up with vampires as his family, and he starts changing Mel's point of view, where, you know, maybe vampires aren't all the bad people, that it was the humans that abandoned him and the vampires that took him in, so vampires aren't all that bad. And it's just really funny. She just makes all these like assumptions and these observations about becoming a vampire and being obsessed with vampires that is so apt, and it can be like converted to like stories like Twilight and people's obsession with vampires and Bella's obsession with Edward. And it's just really funny. I thought it was just a really, really funny comedic book. It's not a book to be taken too seriously, but I really enjoyed it in the end, and yeah, I would tell people to read this if they just want some funny kind of comedic vampire humour. Another book I wanted to mention is not one I have in the physical form, and it is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is a book that basically tells the story of Achilles and his companion Patroclus, and it is a very, very beautiful, heart-wrenching, engrossing read. It's really poetic as well. A lot of people, if they've read or if they've watched the film Troy, know that Patroclus is Achilles' cousin, but there's other versions of their tale where, you know, they can be best friends, they're cousins, they're lovers, they're kind of like everything to each other. In this case, it is that they are lovers, and it is just a beautiful romantic book. It's just really poetic, and it's really beautiful, and I keep saying beautiful when I'm talking about this book, but I would definitely recommend it for people to read. I really, really enjoyed it, and yeah. And one more book I want to talk about is The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. This is a book about a kind of island that has these races called the Scorpio Races every year, and it's where the people capture these horses that come out of the water, and they're kind of couple Ishka, and they are kind of like monsters. They're not like real horses. They're extremely dangerous, extremely vicious, and people can lose their lives doing this race. And this girl called Puck decides that she wants to be in this race, but she's not going to ride a couple Ishka. She is just going to ride her own pony. And it's just about her getting prepared for this race, and then she also becomes friends with one of the other boys who's also going to be in this race, and he is determined to win the race this year, and he kind of helps her, even though at the same time they're going to be competing against each other. And it's just a really, really great read. It kind of has its toes in kind of Irish folklore, I think, in terms of some of the language used. Like, I would have always considered it, the island, to be somewhere off the coast of Ireland or off the coast of Scotland or Wales or somewhere like that. It just has that feeling. It has got this kind of Gaelic-y feel to it. I really, really enjoyed, and just the language in it is beautiful. Everyone who's read The Raven Boys knows how beautiful Maggie Stiefvater can write, and how magical, just that lovely subtle magic that she inserts into all her stories is very, very present in the Scorpio Races, and it's just a fabulous book, and I really love it, and people should read it too. So that is all my monthly recommendations for this month. Please let me know any standalone novels that you love and that you would recommend to me, and please like the video if you liked it and subscribe if you like my channel, and I'll see you guys again next time. So bye!